Hi, this is Bill Prater, and welcome to the Business Builders Show, where we feature champions in their respective industries from all over the planet. Our mission is to provide you with timely, provocative, and actionable resources that will inspire, promote, and accelerate your quest for business excellence. Talking about that, today we're going to find out the secrets of AI-driven success for the modern CEO. And Hoyin Cheung will show us all about that. Now, he's the founder and CEO of Hermesi, which is a cutting-edge remote executive assistance service, which is dedicated to revolutionizing the executive support in the overall AI-driven era. With the technology and social media. Okay, I'm going to start that over again. That one paragraph by just simply going 1, 2, 3 again. 1, 2, 3. With a background in social media and a passion for humanizing technology, Hoyin transitioned from his previous ventures to focus on his company's mission, which is to discover and develop exceptional executive assistants who excel in both business and personal tasks. He does that by integrating advanced AI and emphasizing continuous upskilling. Hermesi not only enhances the efficiency of its AIs, but also transforms them into invaluable partners for C-level executives. His experience in innovation and his approach aims to elevate productivity and refine executive assistants, treating CEOs as high-performance athletes in today's fast-paced, tech-centric environment. You've got a rocket ship of a company that you're building there, my man. So who do you serve?
Thank you so much, Bill. Thanks so much for letting me come and speak with you. I'm super excited. So, yeah, you said it really well, probably better than me. And we serve leaders and founders, ambitious leaders and founders who are looking for how to be on the cutting edge of productivity and of technology, people who are figuring out how to adopt more AI, and people who are really lifelong learners and have the desire to really constantly improve in everything that they do. So that's really the types of people that we target and our most successful clients.
So what are the problems that these people typically have that you and your company are able to solve?
Yeah, so the typical problems, I would say the symptoms really show up as I am really overwhelmed. I have many different conflicting priorities, meaning I've got a young family, I've got a business, I'm on a nonprofit board, I'm invested in several companies. There's many different conflicts or many different priorities that you're trying to tackle both in your work life and your personal life. It's really about not organizing. Nowadays, when you think about our lives post-pandemic, because of remote work and hybrid work, our work life and our personal life are even more intertwined.
Okay.
And because of that intertwining, the way we work hasn't really fully changed and adjusted to that. And so for us, what we think about executive assistants is that it really needs to cater to this new world, this new post-pandemic world, where your personal life is going to impact your work life, and then vice versa. And so we think about how do we create this holistic 360 approach to that. Some other problems that we really help out is fast growing companies where maybe they've just expanded or they are growing into a new geography, maybe got a round of fresh funding, and then now they're just going through this transformation. And so we really help a lot of people just level up in terms of their productivity.
So maybe our listeners would benefit if you would maybe give us a case study or two about how your company goes about solving these problems for people. Walk us through step by step how you find each other, how you diagnose, if you will, the need, and then how you dial up your solution.
Yeah, sure. I work with one of our clients is a startup, and they are in the the ESG space. And I found him through it was through LinkedIn, and then we started talking. And one of the things that what I do is I include 2 weeks of coaching, productivity coaching. One of the major problems when people work with EAs is sometimes they don't know how to work with an EA. They don't know what to delegate. They don't know what are the things that they can, the processes and the workflows, are those correct? Sometimes they just don't know that. It's not that they that they're unable to create them, and sometimes they don't have the time to create them. And so I come in as like a productivity coach that basically guides both of them into a relationship by teaching the CEO what to do. So I taught him, okay, here are the things that you need to do when it comes to delegation. I looked at all of his tasks and then picked off, okay, here's the tasks that you can delegate. I reorganized his to-do list. I went through all of his personal workflows and redid them. So for example, he goes through his email, he does some prospecting, he does some of his taxes, he does he creates this report that he always does. So I redid all those workflows by incorporating AI and modern tools, created the process, and then handed it over to the EA.
Okay.
And so what we're doing is just going in and just reorganizing your life and making it much more effective and more fit for you to allow you to be more productive. And so he was able to increase his productivity by 2x. The EA is this EA is it's a person, it's a virtual executive assistant. It's fully trained on ChatGPT and all these modern tools like Zapier for automation, all that stuff. So she was able to run all these playbooks and implement all these tools into the workflow because we try to provide an EA that's like not a normal EA, that's like a 2 to 3x EA. So when you get a 2 to 3x EA, you as a C-level exec are now a 2 to 3x C-level exec. And so that is like the chain of value that we want to create. And so he was able to increase his productivity by 2x. Multiple, he has a young family, and he also was on the board and invested in several companies. So he was juggling all these different conflicts. And so we helped a lot of time blocking for him, a lot of time management, so that he could work during periods of time where he's the most effective and really the most active and most creative, because he found himself doing a lot of things that were not very monotonous during his most creative periods. And then when he's not really creative, or that's not really his prime time to really do work, he was doing the most creative, the most important things. So we helped organize that whole thing for him.
I understand what you've said because I've had a couple, three, five or more EAs over the years, but I think you're tremendously different than your competition. But our listeners might know exactly how different you really are. I can tell by listening to you how different you are. But maybe you could explain the market a little bit and then how you have put the competition, if you will, in the dust, Hoyin.
So when it comes to hiring EA, there's a few ways you can do it. One is you can hire someone onshore, basically in the US, who is in person or maybe remote in the United States. That's one way to do it. And the second way is you can go by yourself to go to any kind of freelance network or like Upwork or something like that to then go and try to find somebody yourself. Both of those ways I would say it's okay. There is like a certain degree of risk to that because they're not fully trained, that they may or may not be fully trained. And they don't necessarily know how to use ChatGPT and all these tools to the fullest. And they don't have this kind of guiding service principle that we have. So we have all these areas that we've identified. You don't have to ask them. We already provide it. We call it in the Hermesi wheel of service. And that goes everything, and that covers 360 to your life. Like everything from personal stuff to work stuff recruiting, tax, accounting, bookkeeping, like all this types of stuff that they can potentially do. It's just the question of whether you want to activate it or not. And then the next option is with our competitors. So we have a bunch of competitors that provide EAs, but their training is probably only like a few days, less than a week. And then they put you and the EA in an island and they're expected to like, okay, you guys just go and work together and make sure it works. And those are like either EAs or VAs. An EA is just someone who what I say is someone who's just better trained, not just like task orientated, which is what a VA is, but outcome orientated. So our EAs are all outcome orientated. Our training is 30 days. We train them on a lot of it is training on mindset, process, and we combine that with finding the most proactive and intellectually curious people. And so one of the key things is when we're like recruiting, we're actually not recruiting people to be a great EA. We're actually recruiting people to be a great chief of staff. Because one of the things that we do is an EA we give our EAs a trajectory for career growth. And a lot of times EAs don't have that. Actually, outside, there's pretty much no career growth. It's EA, senior EA, and then what? So a lot of the best talent are looking for something like this. They're looking for better pay, and they're looking to keep learning. Those are the two reasons why people actually leave their EA job. And so we train them to be chief of staff, like a junior chief of staff eventually. And that is what they look for because then they are able to continue to learn and also able to get that salary bump because of the additional value that they're bringing. And so that is basically our whole business, where we align with our employees and invest in them and make sure that because we invest in them so much, that they deliver so much to the client. And that's like another really clear distinction. Most of them are just EAs and that's it. That's like the end of story. And so for us, that's not the end of story. It's how do we continue to provide even more value? Because with AI, EAs just can't be EAs anymore. Like a lot of their job is going to be automated. And so we're trying to be much more forward thinking and figure out what are the tasks that an EA can do that are going to be harder for an AI to replace. And for me, it's managing human relationships and managing humans in general, like managing teams.
Excellent. All right. Beautiful distancing from your competition. So let's talk about your business. So when you went about deciding to build your business, tell us about what went through your mind. What was your vision? What were the major milestones as you've built it so far?
Yeah, so my previous company that I have actually still and I still run it right now was a virtual events platform. So it's like a Zoom, but for online virtual events for people. And during the pandemic, it grew from 6 people to 160 people. So I really and it was this crazy roller coaster ride during the pandemic, and I got burnt out. I got burnt out. I was overwhelmed. I was working like crazy, and I hired an executive assistant. On top of that, I missed my son's first steps, which really my I had a really very deep talk with my wife after
I
that.
bet you did.
And
No.
yeah, and so that's one of the reasons why I brought on executive assistant and also eventually chief of staff as well. And that's when I started realizing that how important executive support is and how that really changed life when I had so many conflicting priorities. And that it is possible, and in my opinion, it is possible to work very hard and ambitiously spend a decent amount of time, not all the time, on your work, but also take care of your other priorities. It's just you just need to be hyper efficient with your time, and most of the time we're just really not. And so I believe in not in for ambitious leaders and founders. There's really no such thing as work life balance. Like this doesn't happen. Like you can't achieve goals that ambitious goals if you have work life balance. But there is something called work life quality, where the quality of the time that you spend with people is of the utmost highest. You have 100% of your focus when you're with your kids. You're doing activities that are really meaningful with them, that are very memorable for everybody, for all participants. So it's the quality of the time, not necessarily the quantity. And so how do we optimize for that? And so that was one of the major reasons why I came up with Hermesi. And I also saw that there was a gap in the market. Like people weren't really taking care of the EAs how I thought they would. So I'm in remote teams for almost over 12 years. And people were not taking care of remote team members as the way I thought they should. But it was just, and some of the larger competitors in my space, a lot of them were losing great talent. Like a lot of them were leaving the companies that they were at. And so I just saw an opportunity where I think I can do a better job treating employees better to make them stay. I can do a better job in recruiting the best. And I think I can do a better job in training them. And I felt that as an entire product, I could do a much better job than what everyone else is doing.
What would you say were the major lessons you've learned now with your new business?
I would say that the major lessons that I've learned is that a lot of people um, don't really necessarily know how to delegate and work with an EA. I think a lot of people just don't know how to do that. And it's not to anyone's fault. It's a specific type of skill and an experience to learn how to do that. And the other thing was I realized that we all think we know how to organize our time really well. But I think that actually, no, we're actually not that good, was what I've realized. And I even say that to myself and the reason is because we are so focused on the grind and on working and doing stuff. A lot of times we're like too myopic and thinking about what's my next meeting. We're not really thinking about, okay, what's my schedule like today and how should I organize it to maximize productivity? Or, and the usual answer that people say is, I just don't want any meetings. Don't give me any meetings. And then I'll be most productive. And I would agree with that, but sometimes you need meetings. Sometimes those are necessary. So how do you do that? How do you make sure that you're at your top productivity? And so I realized that a lot of people just need help in organizing their life because you can't organize your life and then be really focused on what you're doing all at the same time at probably at the highest performance level that you want to be. You just some people can do it, but I find that most people cannot. And so
Mhm.
that's like another big learning. And another big learning is that I learned I already knew how to recruit decently good people, but then I've really learned how to really drill down on how to recruit really amazing people, like really finding the diamond in the rough. I've learned that through this process by digging through a lot of like tests and figuring out what tests are actually strongly correlated to job performance, like which one of them are. And then I just did so much trial and error and trying to figure out, okay, I do this test, they're scoring this high, is showing that in the boot camp. And then once we match them with the executive, are they showing that when like in reality, like out in the wild? And so with these three data points, I've been able to almost like really optimize and test and try different things to unearth talent and unearth skill without purely relying on interviewing. So that's one thing that I found pretty interesting that I learned.
I'm curious if you give these, if you will, these tests, these, and I can think of some of the ones that you're probably thinking about. Do you give them to the client as well, or is that just your own intuition that you dial in to help these guys and gals out?
So we're currently right now we give the test to our our talent pool when they come to come into interview and recruit. We don't give any tests yet to our clients. I think that's a great idea, Bill. I've wanted to do that because it's also matching and make sure we match the right thing. The whole kind of disc thing is everyone's using disc or some version of it and I'm exploring this really heavily and I'm trying to make more sense of it because I don't want disc, even though it's very different from Myers-Briggs, but Myers-Briggs has scientifically, it really is not really scientifically proven to be really effective. because a lot of it is self-reported. And so I am diving deep into, okay, what is the right test for the client? But for the candidate side, yeah, we've gone through a lot of different tests, looked at a lot of different ways how to test it, and looked at the results and figured out what it was. The thing, Bill, is I'm only recruiting for one position. That's it.
Yeah, that's a good
So
point.
so
That's a
I
very
can
good point.
just
Yeah.
I'm just iterating off of one position. That's it. And that makes things a lot more simpler for me to track and to scale and to perfect. Oh, perfect's not the right word, but to iterate. Iterate is a better word.
Okay, good. What would you say is holding you and your business back right now?
I think right now is definitely awareness. Awareness, people who know who we are, and being able to be in front of the right people. I would say that's definitely the biggest challenge.
Talking about getting in front of the right people, how can our listeners get a hold of you? What's the best path to you?
So you can all definitely go to hermesi.com, our website. And the second is you can also come to my LinkedIn profile, and I'll send it to you and later. That I have a lot of content about leadership, about productivity, about just in general about what it means to be a founder, and I share a lot of my stories there. So you can also check that out too.
Beautiful. I've asked you half a dozen questions here, but what is one question that maybe I should have thought of and asked you, and I didn't? So, what is that unasked question and the answer to it?
I think one of I think maybe diving deeper into like how do we differentiate. Um, so one of the things that what I believe is that as the modern CEO who is the way I define the modern CEO is not just someone who is or a CEO who is post pandemic, but it's during this AI generation and social media generation where there's a ton of noise and information diet is incredibly important. In this modern world, how does a CEO operate and become that 2 to 3x CEO? And part of it is a lot of the productivity that he's talked about. The other part is that we want to we are we are upskilling and elevating the CEO at multiple levels. And one is at the EA level by allowing the EA to improve productivity, and that serves as our foundation. The next is that we have a network of coaches where we bring in the right coaching talent to use. So you're like what you were saying in the intro, you're like a high performance athlete. Like LeBron James has a support team of like 15 people, right?
Sure.
He's got his shooting coach, his physical therapist, his trainer, he's got all these people around him to help him achieve growth and enduring high performance, by the way. Enduring high performance, which is what LeBron is really well known for. And I want to apply a lot of that to our CEOs. How do you get enduring high performance? And then the third is peer-to-peer education. So we also are developing a mastermind right now where you come and then you will also join a mastermind to connect with other CEOs that we have and learn from them from a mastermind perspective. So it's a 3-layer cake where we provide this holistic learning environment. So yes, we are an EA company, but we're really an upskilling and elevating company in reality.
Excellent, excellent. Everybody, you heard a great strategy and the tactics go along with it. But in closing, let's focus on the single fact that our businesses do not become extraordinary in a single moment. Instead, they get there as a result of the owner, the CEO, having a strategic vision for the future, of executing that vision with a management system. And number 3, leveraging high performance teams. And they don't have to work for you. They can be resources that you've just now heard of and from Hoyin. So thanks for listening. Thanks for joining us today, my man.